2445. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I won't repeat what's been said before. My bill also deals with open-ended credit loans. We've heard all the problems with them. If we're looking for narrowness and modesty, I would argue mine is the narrowest and most modest of all, in that it doesn't chase interest rates, doesn't ban practices, doesn't have origination fees. All it does is licensing. Because every single loan in Virginia, they can charge over 12%. Every loan that has an unlimited interest rate is licensed by someone, either by Virginia or by the federal authorities. All this bill does, and it was actually Gordon Helsell's idea 4 years ago, and he's a co-patient of this bill, Delegate Helsell. All it does is say, let's license them so that if there are complaints, people have a place to go and complain. It is the Wild West. This does include internet bills. I'd be happy to work with anyone during session if this committee doesn't go forward today to talk about how these are done. But again, it doesn't restrict them. It just licenses them so we can watch them. And all these out-of-state actors coming in and mistreating Virginians, at least we can find out what they're doing. I do have a number of people in support. They're probably the same people you've heard before.
Okay. Thank you. Come forward.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Dana Williams with the Virginia Poverty Law Center. I just wanted to add that we believe that this would, while we would prefer things that do more, I think this at the very least means that we'll know who's actually doing these loans in the state. We actually have no idea how many lenders are actually operating with doing open-ended credit. We know some through a lot of our people on our hotline, but there is no way for us to know exactly how many. And also, there are a lot of people who have asked us where can they file complaints, and they cannot necessarily. And some people have been rejected from filing complaints in other areas because there's no place to complain to, because they're not licensed by anybody. So this would just allow us to know who the actors are, especially the ones who are doing it from outside the state. We know some of the ones in the state, but we actually have no real clue as to exactly how many locations, how many lenders, and there's no place for people to file complaints to. Not that there wouldn't be any regulations under this, but it would just require a licensure.
Okay. Thank you. Dave. You might as well just stay up here.
And I will be even more brief this time, Mr. Chairman. Dave Urban, again with the Attorney General's office, for the reasons that the delegate has stated and that Dana has stated. We support the bill. This would require folks to be licensed, as I indicated before. We're aware of 16 companies. I suspect that number is only going to grow. It has grown over the past few years, and as long as this loophole is out there, it will continue to grow. For those reasons, we support this bill as a necessary first step. And thank you for your consideration.
Yes. Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Robert Broderick, checking the cash. We stand in opposition to the bill. The bill does more than licensure, and I'll direct your attention on page 1, lines 15 through 23, where it changes the definition of what an open-end loan is. Also, if you look on the back pages, it also makes these types of loans subject to the Virginia Consumer Protection Act that we spoke against in an earlier bill. And that's, and I'll go on, but those two things were not addressed, and they are in the bill.
Thank you.
Very briefly, Mr. Chairman, the only violation of the Consumer Protection Act would be if you don't license. If you do this work, you don't license. So that would be the violation. You have to be licensed. The part that it changes basically says you can still do purchase money loans. You just can't do open-ended credit loans.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Have a motion.
Prior to what I expect is going to happen, I would ask if this committee chooses to table the bill, that perhaps a letter could go out from Mr. Chairman that I could be included in the working group on this bill.
Okay. Sure. Motion is second, lay on the table. All those in favor say aye. Aye. And we'll, I think you would be, your bill may be included in that, Commissioner Fate's study, because it's cracking down, is looking at internet loans and things like that. We'll figure that out.
Thank you.
All right, now, last one is Delegate